Two fathers, one carried a title, the other carried a mindset. Both loved me, but only one taught me how to move in silence. Poor dad wore a tie, taught me to respect the system, study hard, get good grades, apply wait in line, hope for a pension, maybe a raise, maybe a plaque. Rich dad wore jeans, taught me to read between the lines, build, fail, try again, ask questions, take risk, own the plaque. Pay the raise, be the system. Poor dad said, go to school. Rich dad said, school ain't the only tool. Poor dad said, don't talk about money. Rich dad said, that's why most people never have any. One saw money as the root of stress. The other saw money as a tool for rest. Poor dad said, avoid debt at all cost. Rich dad said, debt can be a ladder if you're the boss. One taught me to fear the fall. The other showed me how to climb the wall. One said, don't lose. Play it safe. The other said, losing is just tuition to a different kind of education. Poor dad said, work for money. Rich dad said, make money work for me. Poor dad bought things to impress the block. Rich dad bought stocks that bought his time back. One said, buy a house. Work 30 years to pay it down. Rich dad was proud of his freedom. Poor dad had Saturdays. Rich dad had every day. Poor dad prayed for retirement. Rich dad lived like he already retired. Not from laziness, but from designing a life he didn't need a vacation from. Poor dad told me a job is security. Rich dad told me, a job is a stepping stone. Just don't stay too long. The chain gets comfortable, and then you forget you're not free. Poor dad said, money doesn't grow on trees. Rich dad said, money grows where your mind plants seeds, assets over image, cash flow over clout. Learn to buy things that pay you back, instead of things that scream wealth but bleed you out. Poor dad waited for permission, promotions, policy changes. Rich dad made his own rules, moved without noise, stacked without flash. And when people laughed, he smiled because he knew they'd be asking for advice later. Poor dad paid taxes before he saw his pay. Rich dad paid himself first and learned how to play the game. Poor dad feared the IRS. Rich dad hired the IRS. Poor dad saved pennies. Rich dad built pipelines. One clipped coupons. The other clipped deals. One shopped clearance. The other cleared titles. One drove cars. The other owned fleets. One worked for bosses. The other built teams. And me, the boy in between, heard both voices, felt both loves, but had to choose which one to trust. Poor dad meant well. He did what he was taught, sacrificed, sweated, prayed, obeyed. Rich dad asked, why obey a system built to keep you chasing? Why wait 40 years for a taste of peace? Why not learn now what others regret later? It wasn't disrespect. It was reflection. It was a mirror I had to hold up and decide, do I chase comfort or control? Do I follow the safe script or write my own scroll? Do I wait for the bell to ring or build the school? Because in the end, it's not about rich or poor. It's about free or trapped, aware or asleep, owner or owned. The biggest difference was not in their wallets, but in their words, their thoughts, their fears, their frame. Poor dad said, don't make mistakes. Rich dad said, just don't make the same ones twice. Poor dad waited for opportunity. Rich dad created it. Poor dad saw risk as danger. Rich dad saw risk as a doorway. One lived by rules. The other lived by principles. One counted on retirement. The other never needed it. So I listened not just to what they said, but to how they lived. And the choice became clear, because one day the bell rings. The job ends, the system shrugs, and you're left with what you built. And I chose to learn the language of assets, to respect the grind but not be chained to it, to let my money speak louder than my clothes, to value time more than titles, to own things that make while I sleep, to be loud in impact but quiet in wealth, to be a builder, a learner, a player in the game, not a pawn hoping for a raise. And now when people ask me, what's the secret, one say, it ain't about one dad being better. It's about which voice you let write your letter, which truth you hold when times get tight, which mindset you feed when no one's in sight, because both loved me, but only one taught me how to be free.